In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, my lovely students. How are you all? I hope you are enjoying your good health. This is Pakistan International School Taif's virtual learning class for the subject Science for grade 7th. We are doing chapter number 4 and trying to understand the environment and feeding relationship. And in that, today we will see about factors causing a change in the habitat of living organisms. In the previous chapter, we have studied lots of things about the ecosystem and the habitat of organisms. We have studied about biotic factors also, like the living organisms also, which can affect um, the habitat and their relationship. Today, we will see some of the abiotic factors which can change the population of any habitat. So, a population is having great relationship with the habitat if the number of the same type of organisms live at the same place, that is called the population of that habitat. So it can be decreased and increased by several factors. Some are natural factors which we'll discuss, and some are human factors which bring changes in these habitats. So first of all, we will see sunlight, basic and major source of energy on the earth. Without sunlight, no life can be existed. Plants use light energy to make their own food. We know, we have studied in detail in grade 6 about the process of photosynthesis, that plants use this light energy to make their food, that is glucose. And that's why the plants are called producers, like to produce energy and food for others also. So all forms of life on the earth depend directly or indirectly on these green plants for the food. Definitely, cattle, human beings, so lots of other organisms are directly dependent on these plants. Some are indirectly dependent on the plants. So the plants can make the food for others in the presence of sunlight. So they also need sunlight for their survival as well. So how sunlight affects the functioning of the plants or other organisms? That light intensity, daylight, or if there is no light in the night, there is less light, there is cloudy, so less light is just reaching to the plants, so it means they are doing less photosynthesis. So if sunlight is decreased at its minimum amount, so plants number will be decreased definitely, and this may result in the decrease of animals number in the habitat, because for example in the forest or in a desert or in grassland where the animals feed only on the plants, so the animals can die due to less plants. So here is a question, that how is the sun important to the food supply of an ecosystem? How it is important, we have discussed here. So just think the answer of this and write it down. Second major factor. Okay, one more thing is left here, that sunlight is not only needed for the plants, but sunlight is also needed for the animals to survive. Because many plants, many animals which live in the colder regions, they just wait for the sunlight to give heat and light to their body for their survival. So temperature is also related with the sunlight, as in summer there is much temperature and in winter there is less temperature. So it can also bring the change in the population of a habitat. Any extraordinary rise or fall in temperature may disturb the habitat. For example, there is too much temperature in the summer, so animals move from that place to another place, to that habitat from another habitat. So it means the first habitat will be destroyed due to high temperature, as well as warm water contains less oxygen. So during summer the water of the oceans and ponds get warm. So what happened? Because warm water contains less oxygen, so what will happen to the aquatic animals in the water as it gets hotter? So definitely if the water is absorbing less oxygen, so the animals or aquatic life which is under the water, that cannot be survived because all the oxygen will be consumed. If there is less oxygen, so definitely animals and plants or the life under the water will not be survived anymore. The next very important factor, that is water, that is very essential for life, because every living organism is formed by the life, that is produced by life, that produced by the water and formed by the water. So that depend that life depends on water. So where there is more water, more organisms are found over there. So if any place where the water is decreasing or there is less water availability in that habitat, so definitely they will influence the organisms. Either the organisms will migrate or move from that habitat to another habitat where the water is present, or the organisms can die over there. Number 4 is migration. Migration is a very important other factor for with like for changing any habitat, or the population size will be increased or decreased due to the migration of organisms. Like when a few individuals come to an area, it increases the size of population of that area and decreases the size of population of the previous area. Yes. So why do organisms migrate from one place to another? We have discussed some of the factors here: water, temperature, sunlight as well. So for better living places as well. So let's talk about some more detail about the light. That light is very important factor for the survival of every living organism on the earth. Because first of all, plants produce um their food in the presence of sunlight. They use carbon dioxide with the help of light. They and water, three things they mostly need for that, as well as this chlorophyll which is present in the green parts of the plants. So they give us oxygen and carbohydrates. Carbohydrates means glucose. Oxygen is also used for the inhalation of other living organisms, and carbohydrates is used for food of the living organisms, as well as they also um, helpful for the survival rate of not only plants, for other living organisms also. Like for example, human beings needs vitamin D from the sunlight, and as well as sunlight can increase or decrease the temperature of that area. Due to the temperature, water can be less if there is no rainfall, so the organisms can move from one place to another for the survival of their life. So if we see another factor, that is migration of animals. So you see animals are migrating for better life, like lots of birds migrate from colder region from Russia to Pakistan due to uh, cold in the upper areas, northern areas, and they come to warmer places. Lots of animals and birds move together, and um, lots of it means like some of the organisms just die during their migration because they have to migrate um, like thousands of miles. That's why they can like die. Some can die and some can reach to the other place. So that is for their survival. As well as these type of animals also move from one grassland to another grassland if that grassland habitat of that place is like destroying or decreasing due to some other reasons. So here the population of the organisms will be increased, and in the previous area the population will be decreased. So definitely that will change, or that will have a great effect on the habitats. If we see some other factors which just change that populations in the habitat, so that is very important. Natural disasters are there. Natural disasters are like untold disasters, and they can like affect any type of habitat in very less time. They can give a very big change. So if we see the number one, that is drought. What is drought? Actually, this is the period when there is no rain for a longer period of time in an area. So what will happen? Water will evaporate, or it will um be completely vanished from that place. So the soil or the ground area that gets cracked and that's get dried off due to less or no water. If you see this area, here is a pond actually, and due to no rainfall for longer period of time, the water is evaporated and the land is going to change into this dry area. So that condition is called a drought. So where there is water, there is life. So if there is no water or less water, so the organisms will move definitely from this area to other places or to other habitat, or they can be died. The ponds or streams may dry up due to drought. Most plants and animals die or move to the other places, and some crops do not grow in the area affected by drought. For many years, the crops cannot grow over there. So if we see natural disaster, that is number one, drought. So we can see the effect in the California that this water is drying off, and the land is going to change into the dry land. And due to this condition, what can happen? The animals can die in that place. So it means population of the organisms will be decreased here. Or if they can survive, they can move to other place and migrate to other place in the search of water. Or in the way, lots of organisms can die. Number two, very most uh, important factor uh, which can cause this change in habitat, that is flood. So when an area gets a lot of rain for a long time, there may be flood in that area. Lots of rain for many days. So what can happen? Water gets collected in rivers and streams and canals and lakes. So that floods off from that place, and the whole area can be affected. So many plants and animals can die due to more water due to the flood, because it is having great pressure in that, and that it can move away all the things with that. Or the animals can move from that place to a drier place during the flood, if it can be possible. So you can see some effects of um, this flood actually in Pakistan. This happens um, every year because there is too much rainfall in the monsoon season. So many times there is flood in lots of areas in every year. So you can see the effect of this flood. Like it can uh, move away or wash away everything with its pressure. So the animals can die in such condition. The next natural factor that can change the population in a habitat, that is lightning. Seldom it is happened, but it just leaves the great effect on that habitat. When lightning strikes a tree in a forest, causing the forest fires, so many or complete forest burn out in this process, as well as decrease in the population of these trees population, as well as lots of animals can be burnt and die over there. If they are able to survive, they can migrate to other places as well. But these forests takes many years to regrow. Sometimes it is impossible. So you can see the effects after the fire. Forests can be like this. So if we see, here are some effects of lightning, how it is happening, that when it's thunderstorm and lightning, it can fall on any tree or in any forest, so it can burn whole of the forest. So after the burning of the forest can look like this. Look this picture. So hardly any living organism can survive over there. So this is the destruction of habitat, and it clears in a minutes a huge amount of uh, like uh, number of trees and number of organisms, and lots of communities are vanished from this area. Yes, the next one we will see, last but not the least, that is earthquake. Earthquakes are sudden shocks of the Earth's surface. When the Earth's surface shakes up, um, so this condition is called earthquakes, and it can change a habitat very quickly and destroy whole of the area if the pressure or strength of that earthquake is higher. So here is an example of October 8, 2005, a massive earthquake damaged a widespread area across Pakistan. That was happened in Kashmir, Pakistan, and almost 70,000 people lost their life in this situation, in that condition, and that almost that is having 7.6 magnitude earthquake. That is too much. All was mountainous area in the Kashmir, so there was a lot of death casualties. Large number of animals and plants were destroyed, as well as human beings they became homeless. If you see what are the effects of earthquake, you can see in this image that what is going to happen here. The earth is shaking and whole of the like area is destroyed. If you see, this is the effect of October 8, 2005 image, which is happened in Kashmir, Pakistan. So lots of people died over there and lots of yes, lost their home. So, okay, so we have just checked some abiotic factors, some natural factors. Now we'll see some like the factors which are caused by human beings, which can change the habitat. Number one is farming or deforestation. So farming is very important for human survival because they have to grow crops. But for the crops, people clear the forest, they cut the forest, they cut the trees and they change the land into deforested land. That is called deforestation, where the forest has been cut down. So they due to cutting of the trees, they destroy the natural habitats for several plants and animals. So people can change habitat by cutting the trees to build their house, not only for building but for farming purposes as well. They're gonna destroy this grassland. So the animals which live in the grassland, definitely they have to migrate, move to other place, or they die in that area. If we see the next very important factor, that is pollution, that is another agent which brings the change in habitat. So pollution can be air pollution, land pollution, and water pollution. So they are not destroying the habitats, as well as they are destroying the human's health and the whole environment as well. So if we see the effects of air pollution, you can see lots of smoke is escaping out from this factory industry, as well as vehicles, as well as burning of fuels. They all are taking part to increase air pollution. Due to this, there are lots of health issues, as well as organisms are dying due to suffocation. More carbon dioxide is going to add into the atmosphere. Due to cutting of the forest, oxygen is going to be less. So in the previous century, 100 years, 1 degree temperature has been raised due to the addition of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So if we see, our beautiful earth is going to change to this due to industrialization and due to emission of smoke from any means. So if we decrease pollution, like in this condition of COVID-19, there is complete lockdown in whole of the world. Industries are just have uh, have been shut down. So due to that, our earth is going to change to its original condition. Ozone layer, which is depleting, which is destroying, that is gonna form again. If you see here, you can see this, there is lots of pollution effect. And here, if you see, the pollution is going to be decreased. This is in these 3 months from January to March. So if we see the other pollution, that is effect of land pollution. If we see the park, like the walking like area, which is for being playing for the kids, so that is gonna change into this uh, polluted area, the garbage area, where the garbage is having millions of um, uh, kilograms is present over there. So definitely it is destroying the health as well as the population of that area. If we see the next very important effect of water pollution, that is, you can see the garbage which we throw in the water, that definitely increasing the pollution in the ponds, in oceans, in the lakes, and that makes the water bitter, and that is killing the aquatic life and destroying the habitat under the water. So this is the effluent of any industry, and which is removing continuously lots of liters of waste into that area, um, which will definitely joins the canals and oceans, and it is very lethal and harmful for that area, for the living organisms, plants or animals which live over there. They can die. This is also happening, like we throw, people are there visiting this place and throwing lots of garbage here, so the fishes can and other living organisms can be stuck with this type of garbage, and fish can eat them, and they are gonna destroy, and mm, they are killed by eating this type of plastic and all this type of stuff which can be stuck with their nostrils into their esophagus or mouth, or they can die, and definitely they are destructing the habitat of the organisms. So in the last, we will see about how we can protect our environment or habitat. So there are 3 rules for that: reduce, reuse, and recycle. When we do these 3 R's rule, that is called 3 R's rule. Reuse, reduce, and recycle means reuse the old things, reduce to use less resources, for example water, for example, according to need, but you have to use your things, and recycle in the industries the old plastic, glass, and papers, etc., so we can save the habitats. There is another R which can be added with this, that is called reforestation. So that is very important, like you have to grow more trees. Re means again, forestation means trees, forest, so you have to grow more trees. So our deforested land can be changed into a reforested land. That's it for today, inshallah. We all follow this one, and we can save our habitat and our ecosystem. Wish you good luck, inshallah. We will see you in the next topic.